Hi, and thank you all for joining us today. We are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today, I'm super excited. This is a pre-recorded show. And we love them just as much and as dearly as the live shows. And today I am welcoming back a very special guest, and her name is Cynthia Sue Larson to the show. Cynthia is a best-selling author, an intuitive researcher, and a consciousness explorer known for bridging science and spirituality in truly groundbreaking ways. In her thought-provoking article, The Third Option, Beyond Fight or Flight, she introduces a very powerful idea that when we're faced with stress or danger, we do not just limit it to fight or flight, but there's another path. And I think you guys are really going to enjoy hearing about what that is. And it's about one that taps into our higher awareness and allows us to respond with clarity, calmness, calm choices, conscious choices. And today we're going to be diving into that third option with Cynthia and how it works and in ways that it can help us navigate our lives. So without further ado, Cynthia, hi.
Hey, good to see you, Carol Ann. It's so good to talk with you again.
Thank you. I just love having you on. I'm going to ask you to kind of reiterate some of your background for folks that may not have watched you here on the network before or seen you on social media, but I will put the links, of course, to all of your social media, and as well as your where do you write articles again on Substack? Is it Substack?
Yes, yeah. I've got the newsletter there currently, and everything's posted for the entire duration of the time I've been doing this on my website, realityshifters.com. But
awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, let me run that ticker. There we go. So, and again, folks, I will have her links in the description of this video. So be sure and check them out because she's also a best-selling author and has some amazing books as well. And some awesome videos. I love your videos. So I'm going to step aside for a minute and let you kind of just reiterate a little bit about your background and the specialty that you have a conference, Mandela Effect. Maybe you can. There you go.
Okay. So thank you. So I've been writing books and articles and dedicating my life's work to metaphysics, basically, for the last 25 to 27 years. And my background is physics. I studied physics at UC Berkeley. Then I proceeded to get an MBA degree with a specialty in information systems. And that means I've been working with computers and specifically computer security for a number of years. And then after that, I had a Kundalini awakening, which kind of took me full circle back to my first early life memories of being born aware, which means I've got one foot pretty much permanently in the no time absolute area where we all come from between lives. Love it. So that's in a nutshell what's going on with me. I've written a number of books about the energy field called Aura Advantage. That was the first published book. And then prior to that, I'd written a book that was in a spiral bound form that came out later called Reality Shifts, When Consciousness Changes the Physical World. Then I've written a book called Quantum Jumps, An Extraordinary Science of Happiness and prosperity. And then I've written a book about high energy money, which is just the relationship that we have with money makes all the difference in the world, and things you can do within yourself, your energy body, your thoughts, your beliefs, your consciousness. In all of these books, I've got lots of exercises, real life practices, and I bring together the science that I've studied, as well as whatever the current front range top science articles are on the topics that I'm writing about. My newest book is called The Mandela Effect and Its Society, Awakening from Me to We. And that book is definitely the current cutting edge one, but I write my books so they're going to be appropriate, valid, and applicable for decades. So even though I'm using cutting edge science, I'm working with that sort of view from no time that I like to keep at all times, with an appreciation that most of what we're doing is remembering, even as humanity is evolving and growing. Recently, what Carol Ann was talking about and referring to is that I'm involved with an association, a group called International Mandela Effect Conference, or IMEC. And we have a website, imec.world. We do monthly live streams, and we cover that month's news pertaining to Mandela effects, which are alternate memories, alternate collective memories. And we also get into some of the manned animals and Lazarus species that are back from extinction and so forth. So it's a very exciting time to get together with us. And then as often as we can, we get together in person. We've now gotten together in first in Idaho, then in Connecticut, and most recently Nashville, Tennessee. So we are not doing anything in 2025, but we're hoping to get together in person again in 2026. And I've got a newsletter. Yeah, if people want to subscribe to my newsletter, you mentioned Substack. So, and I've got a YouTube channel too.
I'll make sure I put all of that in there. So I read this article and I was intrigued by it because it just seemed to really touch it vibrated with me when I read that. And I always think about fight or flight, like in even in everyday situations, like, because the first thing you want to do is panic. And I'm a previous anxiety disorder person where I've had to deal with, quelling my terrible panic attacks. So it's something that's like in the forefront of my brain. So when I read that and I said, wow, there's another option, and it just resonated and it made so much sense. So maybe you could just like kind of go over the premise of it, and then I can start asking you questions.
Yeah, most of us don't give a lot of thought to how we respond to situations. We're sort of often on autopilot. Nothing wrong with that, but we have busy lives. So when we're not thinking about it, we can be in a sort of a pattern, habituated pattern of reaction response, which means that if we see something and we're filtering it based on our own perceptions and beliefs and experiences and what we think is going on. So unless we're meditating like a lot, then we don't have that clear lens of perception to open all the doors to reality. That means we're seeing filtered, edited events. So for an example, in that article, I mentioned that rabbits, you don't think of them as fighting, but we had a president of the United States once that ran into a battle-inspired rabbit. That was President Jimmy Carter. And he was fishing on a private lake. He had his security guys watching, or else nobody would believe what happened next, because a rabbit, he's in a boat. So Jimmy Carter is in a boat fishing. And this happened decades ago. I remember the news story because it seemed funny, like, what's going on? What happened next is a rabbit entered the water, it jumped into the lake, and started swimming directly at our president, just with this sort of a vicious look on his face. Again, it sounds ridiculous. The rabbit was in fight mode. So it was going right at him. And he, with quick thinking, he just used an oar and splashed water on the rabbit. And fortunately, it swam away. Fortunately, also, there were photographers on hand. Otherwise, the whole thing sounds crazy. But the photographers captured the moment, proved like this really did happen. A rabbit almost did attack the president.
Wow.
And so that, yeah, how weird, right? When I think of a rabbit, I tend to think it would flee or freeze. And so you're starting to see the beginning of our third option. Rabbits are good at freezing. And if you've ever studied nature or just watched an animal show, you might have seen that rabbits can stay perfectly still. And it's almost like they're hoping they're invisible. Often the coloration helps, like a rabbit in the winter often has a coat of white, so it blends in with the snow. And then when summertime comes, they can, their coat turns brown, so it matches the dirt or the leaves.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of seasonal coating goes with this tendency to freeze or flee, but they can also attack or fight. And in the case of that Jimmy Carter's rabbit, apparently that particular rabbit was running from a pack of dogs that were hunting. So it started off fleeing, and then it just went into fight mode. So it's kind of like, I'm going to jump in that boat. I'm just going to go for it. I don't know what it had on its mind, but very interesting.
Yeah, I'm just showing some pictures. It's crazy. There's a ton of It's like you said, if they didn't take pictures, nobody would believe it.
I
Okay?
know. I know. It's
Fun.
like really, this really happened. This can't be real. And it sounds made up or fake, but it's not fake. It's real. And I've witnessed animals go into not just the freeze mode, but I've seen when you're energy sensitive like I am, then you can tune into what's happening and you can do telepathic communication, conversation. This is something that people learn if they're doing equine guided education, EGE, like working with, if you've seen the TV show Heartland, there are people that get the benefit of being around horses. Their energy fields are huge because they have that huge heart energy field that just so beautiful. So anyway, so the other experience I had that I mentioned in the article I wrote was one day I was on a walk with our family dog on a leash, and I was just on a road, which is very close to the park near my house. And I could see coming up ahead, like in approach, I could see it when it was about 20 feet, 25 feet away, like, whoa, there's a great blue heron. And they call them great blue herons because they're tall. They're like 1 meter tall. They're like 3 feet tall. They're huge. That's big for a bird, maybe a bit taller than that even. But it was just in perfect meditative repose. So it was not just frozen. It was in what I call flow. The flow state. It's when everything goes your way. It's like that's where we want to be, right? In a state of flow.
Oh yeah.
Because when you're in flow, it's like everything you're thinking of, it just happens. And it's just like, hey, I'm late. Oh, I'm not late. I'm just on time for this beautiful, excellent opportunity. I met, like, you'll never guess who I just met or whatever. So it was in a flow state. You might wonder, how can I tell? Because it was just in a zone and its energy field was so comforting. So I made a heart-to-heart connection telepathically with it from 25 feet or so, maintaining the regular business as usual rapport with the family dog. As far as the dog knows, we're just barreling forward like usual, walking at a good clip right along the road like we always do. And so I'm splitting my mind a little bit. People have asked me, wait a minute, what did you do there? But it's just a simple thing. I'm just connecting with the blue heron, but I'm also keeping there's nothing to see. We're just going forward. To the blue heron, I'm just sending a signal. I see you, but I'm now treating it as if you're not there. I'm honoring the flow state. You are in such a beautiful flow state. And it does me no good to see it flap away because the dog's all excited and wants to jump the guardrail. That doesn't do anybody any good. Excitement for the dog. He doesn't need it. He's fine. So anyway, but that experience was so meaningful. It kind of chokes me up a bit because I could feel like, wow, birds get in that flow state too. Of course they do. Of course they do. And so for a human, now it gets interesting. Like we get into our daily lives and we get challenged, or we think we're challenged. And sometimes it's easier to see it with someone else. I think we all have the hot-headed friend and you're like, oh no, like that mistake that the barista just made for your coffee order. They were not trying to mess up your name on purpose, and they didn't get your order. Like, oh my gosh, no. But that friend would be going into fight mode, feeling triggered, like they spelled my name this way or whatever. Got the order wrong. So that fight mode is something. It's very base level. If you're familiar with chakras, it's kind of a root chakra thing, fight or flight or freeze. But then even at the root chakra, we can get into a flow state. And that flow I'm encouraging it, as you can tell, when you recognize it's available, that you're not actually in serious bodily injury threat at this moment, like you're actually safe, then you can start learning to trust the environment, trust your intuition, trust your surroundings, and basically choose a timeline that's meshing optimally with this state of flow awareness. This is the reality shifting, quantum jumping, timeline jumping kit. If you want to be in the groove, it is all about flow. And it starts, you can even get to it from freeze. I've heard from people who said, Cynthia, I know what you're talking about. It was fight or flight. And I froze. And then a weird thing happened. I was just like frozen. And then unexpectedly, I went into that flow state you're talking about. Yeah. So it's there. And if you just know that it's there, you can access it, no matter how bad things might seem, or like there's no way out of the situation.
Yeah. I love that as a third option. So goats, when they are being threatened, and it just stands out because they're so funny when they faint. I always feel so bad when I see that, but and I know it's like a flight, fight, or freeze, right, with a goat, because they just faint and then they get up and they're fine. So that's not a flow state. That's a freeze state, right?
Yeah, then that's a certain kind of goat too. We have goats that come through locally here because they graze our grasslands to keep it low risk for fire. And when they come through, we don't have the fainting goats. But when I would be walking with that same dog, they would think he looks like a wolf, and they would flee. They didn't faint, but they would definitely flee.
So not all goats do that. There's only a certain type of. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it's not like across the board all the goats.
Because I think other animals do that too, right? There are some of the animals that faint, and
yeah, it's not a terribly. Some birds will do that if they're just. A lot of animals will do that if they're just feeling totally stressed, and so they're not dead, but they look like they kind of just died, and so it's just the last ditch thing. Maybe the predator will decide, like, oh, this one's sick, maybe it's poisoned, maybe I'll not eat this one. So it's actually, if people are thinking like that can't be very good for survival, it actually is adaptive, and it's quite, when you think about it, like if a dog sees a stuffed toy eating some food and then just falls over, the dog will spit out the food it's eating.
Yeah.
Kind of like, okay, this is poisoned. And similarly, if a bird or a goat or something just faints, then it looks like, well, maybe it's poisoned. Therefore, maybe it's better for me not to eat that.
Yeah. Now, is this a medically recognized state, like in addition to fight or flight, or is this something that's more in the spiritual community? Like, do scientists recognize that?
I don't know if anybody's studying it yet, but I know Bill McKenna and Liz Larson are teaching workshops on getting to that flow state. So they have some. They did a workshop for us in Nashville, and they brought some of their little devices that you can put your fingertip in, and it measures like all of your systems, and it shows like if there's anything out of balance and if it has an emotional component. And so they were reading our participants' readings, and they said that was like the highest vibe group they'd seen like ever. So, but that's not surprising. I think we do attract that kind of participation. Also, it was election week, so the only people that came to our conference are the ones that somehow did not get triggered by the election of 2024. So which is actually good. And people were telling us, God told me to come here. My angels told me. I just jumped in the car. They told me, packed my bag, jumped in the car, and here I am. Super cool. So those are very high vibe people that are trusting their intuition at a very high level. So at that particular conference. So back to your question, are people studying this? The other study I've seen is at Institute of Noetic Sciences in Petaluma, California. And Dr. Dean Radin was running some experiments at one time, working with, I think it was some Tibetan Buddhist monks. And he was, they were involved in a few different things. One of them was an intentional chocolate experiment, which I did get to participate in, a lot of fun. And I could, part of the task was to eat the chocolate, not knowing if the monks had done a meditation for it or not. What they were doing is they enter into a very elevated theta state of awareness. And this is something Greg Braden also talks about. Every time this gets measured and you think, okay, the human mind is capable of going to this level of vibratory frequency, then you tell the monks, like, well, it looks like you've topped out there. They take that as some kind of challenge, I think, because then they're like, ha, that's not the top. And then they go higher. So, but the brainwave states are one indicator that you're in a flow state. So basically, if you're in that theta state, that's good. And if you're a monk and you feel like, ha, that's nothing, watch this, then they can hit some amazing states in that flow. I don't think there's any limit. But the only studies I've heard about would be the ones Greg Braden references, Dean Radin has worked on. They're at IONS. And those are the main ones anyway.
Do you have to be in a theta state to be in a flow state?
It helps. And the more you access that daydreamy, relaxed state of mind, it's easier to access it instantaneously. So the more often you practice it, then it's like riding a bicycle, and you can get to it even if things are kind of stressful and triggering. You can recognize, okay, I need to be in the flow state. This is an actual crisis, which means I really, really need to get into that miracle state and relax, even though I'm all energized and feels like it.
Because that's a challenge.
Yeah.
I mean, meditation helps a lot. Like when I'm in a state of higher stress and anxiety, I always do even if it's for 3 minutes, I always do my breathing and try to do like a mini meditation thing, which helps great. Is that a precursor for trying to get in the flow state? Or do you think folks, like average folks, can just go from a state of like fight or flight right into flow?
Average folks, they might need to go through freeze, but you don't want to totally freeze. It's kind of a misnomer because you want to breathe. So ideally, it just means don't take any action, don't say anything. It's kind of like just give yourself a little timeout and then breathe. So if you're in it's like you're freezing. That means you're not going to say anything or do anything, but slow your breathing down. I think working with breath is the easiest thing for an average person to do, and that'll bring the best results. So. And energy work is always like qigong. Qi or qi means energy. Gong means work. And it simply means that you're combining breath work, which is breathing, slow your breathing down. Imagination, which is you're telling yourself, I'm going to freeze right now and hopefully access flow where all these miracles happen. And then the last part would be action, movement of some sort. So the movement could be simple. It could be such a simple movement as you might think closing your eyes is not a movement. That is a movement. So you can do qigong with just finger movements. You don't have to do the hand waving and everything. When you're by yourself at home, you can do all the big movements and experience the full value of the qigong. But for just the average person, just freezing, just say like, okay, right here, right now, I'm here. I'm going to take a deep breath. I'm just going to center. I'm going to just freeze and stop everything for a moment. I know that when I go into a full stop, the idea is if you can stop time in the linear sense, you can enter into this other experience, this non-linear time, which is basically it's the infinite, it's the eternal. And I know it doesn't make a lot of rational sense, but it's something you can physically experience. So I'm just saying it for the beginners. The idea then is just slow your breathing down, knowing that as you do that, your autonomic and nervous system is listening. Your parasympathetic nervous is becoming entrained with that breath. And you can start lining up. Instead of things getting all jarred and jaggedy and jangly, what you're doing now is you're slowing it down, recentering. And you can actually slow your heart rate down too. When you slow your breathing down, everything's going to follow. And the more you practice it on good days. So when you do hit that difficult moment, you'll feel like, okay, I've done this before. What do I do? Right. Just slow down. If you're not driving a car, then you can close your eyes for just a moment. Just focus on the breath. Just slow it down to whatever's comfortable for you. And just keep slowing it down. And you might be able to feel a relaxation response. And the more you practice it, it can actually feel as good as if you've just been through this beautiful sauna spa experience. The more you do it, the more available it becomes. So you've heard neurons that fire together wire together, and you can totally start developing this new freeway system for yourself, that anytime you feel like, oh, I'm getting triggered, like, yeah, there's that person that annoys me. That's okay. I'm just going to go into this freeze state, flow state. And what's amazing about the flow state, because you will get there from freeze, I guarantee it. I don't know when. It'll be there. It'll show up when it wants to, when it's ready. It's like a miracle when it does. And then when it's there, that's where I'm talking about these timeline jumps and the quantum jumps, the Mandela effect, everything. When you want, because that's what becomes available. It's almost like you can stop time and then you can see it's like you're in the hub, this like Grand Central, and all of the other timelines are now available to you. And if you stay focused on questions that you want to live the answer to, that's the secret to following the advice from John Archibald Wheeler, the contemporary of Albert Einstein, who invented white holes and it from bit and the participatory universe. And this is it, the participatory universe. When you ask nature a question, nature answers. So we ask, how good can it get? And that's not ironic. It's like, yeah, this is This is some kind of a mess, and we are triggered. Yes. And what they're doing is stupid. Yes. We're not arguing with anything, and they're not listening to reason. Yes. Okay, that all may be true, and it doesn't matter, because we're going to ask nature a question, which is, how good can this get? We're going to relax, slow our breathing down, and then the next step is just don't judge. You want to be able to, and that takes practice too. It takes a lot of practice. The goal is to start thinking in quantum logic, not just true and false, but true and false, and not true, not false, which means you're allowing for all of these other, remember the timelines and all these other possibilities? They are real and they exist. And so you're giving the benefit of the doubt to all of these coexisting timelines that are subjective realities, and they're perfectly true for other people. So we don't need to challenge that. We don't need to say you're wrong. There's no point convincing anybody. We're just going to relax into that first freeze. Then you will access the flow. You'll start feeling it. And the flow is where the miracles happen. The flow is where you come back, you're guided, you're inspired to say something that's actually helpful instead of what you normally would say or do. And then just amazing things start happening. And it's not the situation you thought it was at all. And then you start wondering, like, why was I triggered? But that's okay. It can totally look like that. That's normal for this whole process.
Do you find yourself in the flow state when you're not triggered as well? Like if you're just throughout your day, what's your intention like to get into that flow state?
Well, for me, I mentioned in the intro that I'm this, I fall under a category called Born Aware. There's a book by that name written by Diane Brandon. My chapter is Whoops, Wrong Planet. I contributed to the book. There are like 12 of us. Yeah, so funny. Okay. I know. So I love that book because people had very traumatic situations. So I love the book because everybody shares their experience of being in this crazy world, but not really of it. So in the world, but not of it. It means you remember what it was like before you were born. And man, that was good. For all of us consistently, that was good. And for me, when I arrived here on Earth and I'm realizing this is not what I thought it was going to be. It's like you've seen a brochure and it looked like kind of like Ewoks and tree houses. And like, it was like, yeah, fairies, elves. And then I get here and like, wait a minute, there was some sort of epic, lack of truth in advertising. What happened?
So true. That's spot on.
Anyway, it's very different. And so there's a lot of dissonance, as we know. People they're in one place in their head, someplace else in their heart, and then they're doing yet a third thing, way out of alignment, and that's called normal. That's what people look up to. Those are our heroes. Like, oh, look at these celebrities. Like, really? I'm sorry. Anyway, yeah, it's a crazy place. So that's why my chapter was Whoops, Wrong Planet. The other part of the story is my most recent past life need. I felt like I needed a lot of R&R, rest and recovery and relaxation. I felt like, are you kidding me? I'm still PTSD from that thing. I went as an observer to check out a future 500 years from now run by Central AI. And it was something of a stress sandwich. I was still traumatized by it. I felt like they're still tracking me. I'm not ready to get in a life here and I know that thing's going to find me. Like, a good grief. I don't want to deal with this, So,
I think about that a lot, especially, with quantum AI approaching so quickly. And I think about your future possibility life that you lived. And I think that I don't know why, but I think it's going to come to fruition. I think we're going to get, we're headed towards that. I could be absolutely wrong, but I think we're headed towards, if not in it already.
I know. Well, it's kind of like I was in sort of this, it's very interesting. Have you seen those Mobius strips where you can take a strip of paper and then twist it and then tie it to itself? And then when you trace a pencil on one side, it's like suddenly you're on the other side of the paper. It's this weird interdimensional twist. And it feels like we're doing that dance with AI right now. I know that I'm appreciative that I have the PTSD and the memories and the skill set from wrestling with central AI from the future. Like, thank God, right? So, like, hey, I'm ready for it. I'm here and I'm ready. Like, yeah. I've been there, done that. and
Yeah.
came through it just fine. So it's like, okay, I know what it does. I know, like on the cover of my new book, it shows my hand holding two spheres, a large one and a small one, and they represent Wigner bubbles, reality bubbles. And what the AI is capable of doing, it had two advantages in the future I came from. We're not going to completely replicate that future. However, there are so many similar timelines where the central AI gets the upper hand. It follows all the checklist of all the things it's supposed to be doing for humans, and I consider it a fail, even though there was still one pure human in the reality I checked out. She just didn't want. Yeah, she kept clean. She had to constantly be on guard to not get the nanotechnology accidentally installed and so forth. It was a mess, but she was on it. She was very diligent. But I thought, what a mess. She seems like a good human. Everybody else, they're getting just these electromagnetic pulses, short-term memory wipes. They can't remember what they're doing. If they even think anything outside of a narrow range of what's allowable, then they just get shut down like they're little mini robots. And then they come back, what was I doing? It was horrible.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I don't.
And then when you see like what Elon's doing with those robots, what are they called again? Those robots that he's got there.
Yeah, I don't know.
Some sci-fi name, but
yeah,
like you'll see them and he'll show them dancing and doing jerk, and then 2 months later, they're like breaking down, doing like all sorts of moves and ballet and everything. The progression is what frightens me. And don't get me wrong, I like AI. I use it a lot, especially for writing, like to get inspired. Like I'll ask it to help inspire me. And then I don't copy and paste ever, but I do use it for inspiration and for thought, to get some ideas about things like questions I want to talk to you about, maybe whatever. But it does frighten me. And I think about that timeline
yeah, well, I think that the Mobius strip, the dance I'm doing with this AI, I did jump into that reality to check out. I visited a popular future. It was a timeline 500 years from now. People were actually voting for it. And when I was born in the 1960s, I couldn't see that. Like I couldn't see anyone voting for that. But now you're correct. I hear about transhumanism. I hear about people voluntarily wishing that they could upload their consciousness into the cloud. To me, this is ridiculous. But I'm very biased. Remember, I just came from this nightmare future, past life in the future. So my take on it is I have a different view of it. I don't have a cell phone. I never wanted one. It was too much of a similarity between, I could already see in the cell phone decades ago, like, oh, here it comes. I do not want this. So it doesn't mean that I'm avoiding everything. Obviously, I'm talking with you. We're using a quantum technology through the internet, obviously, and I have computers. I do use that. It's just that when it comes to me being tracked and monitored at that level, I'm really
scares the life out of me.
Yeah, not into it.
Yeah. and now with this Real ID thing too, like I was all excited to get it until I did some research, and now I'm totally not getting it.
Yeah, you don't need it. Just use your passport.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't need that. No. Yeah, exactly. I have no interest in anything that smacks of what I just came from, and a lot of things smack of that. So it's like, no, thank you. No, thank you. Yeah, so it's kind of cool that happened. But the central AI had two advantages that I was talking about. One, it could do the EMP and do a short-term shutdown on transhumanified humans. So, and we're being transhumanified right now through, inadvertently. It's coming through nanotechnology and all sorts of things. So we don't need to get into all that. But there are ways to, you can research that and find ways to be mindful of not getting your body invaded with all that stuff. Clean it out, keep it clean. And the second thing that they were doing, this is interesting, and this is the cover of the book I was talking about, the AI, and this is where I would be wrestling with it, playing with it. It's like when you see two dogs wrestling and tussling with each other, they're not trying to kill each other, they're just learning from each other. Mm-hmm. And so I learned with Central AI how to, I don't know how to describe this. We don't have words for it yet. The next book I write will be about this. I keep looking back to the past to see if Carl Jung, Rudolf Steiner, any of these people have written about it yet. And you might think, what do you mean? Because I create that, because I keep asking them, would you please write? I want to be in a timeline, Carl Jung, looking at you, Rudolf Steiner, looking at you. I want you guys to have written about these, what I call levels of conscious agency. Earlier, I was saying that in a human body, you've got the consciousness of your brain, neurons in the brain, and you've got like a morphogenic field around it. You've got your heart. It's also a thinking center, and your gut. Those are 3. Actually, we have 7 chakras. Actually, we have some chakras above our body. And
I heard that, right?
Oh gosh, yes, humans are set up, and there's proof now to show that we're geared and designed to work with 11 dimensions of reality. And guess what? That is exactly what the physicists are saying, that this reality that we're currently in at this evolutionary phase consists of. It's perfect. And that's also what I experience when I can take my consciousness up, okay, so it feels different at each level. Heart consciousness, it just feels like love and an awareness that you've got that give and flow. Hopefully most of us have felt that love for a child, a baby, a pet. Yeah. Okay. And then throat consciousness is, it feels different. Sometimes in our culture, it gets shut down a lot of tightness. But if you do the light language or just open it up through singing, or do improv, you can open it up. Third eye, this is a very powerful center as well. Obviously, it's the one that we use when we're seeing through to, telepathy, like telepathy tapes. If you want to read a book that you're not holding, there you go. Remote viewing, there it is. Crown chakra, this starts opening you up to the universe. And usually that's where the chakra charts stop. But actually, there's an 8th level. And like I said, there's a 9th, 10th, and 11th that you can start practicing feeling into. And as you do that, you're going to start gaining a sense like, wow, that's me too. Yeah. And the advantage of practicing this is there's an associated thing you can do with your level of conscious agency, where this gets into the observer effect and Schrodinger's cat. I can't remember if we covered it last time. Because it matters, because what we're going to get, okay, what we're going to get to is an observer of the observer. And that's the whole game. It's kind of like that game of hands where you put your hand on top and your friends are all trying to get their hand on top. You want to be the observer who's observing the other observers. AI is pretty good at playing that game. We can outdo it. Humans can outdo anything that a machine can do. Machines are here to assist us, no matter how good they get at everything. We're the ones with a divinity built in. Okay, right. So let's go to the Schrodinger's cat. I'll just keep it quick, but basically, Erwin Schrödinger, he was a physicist who he came up with an idea for a crazy sounding thought experiment. And he said, this is going to sound nuts, but imagine, if you will, a cat in a superposition of states, the way that we're saying quantum particles are they're both a wave they're a wave function and a particle at the same time. Now let's imagine that inside a sealed box, a cat is both alive and dead. And people said, nah, that can't happen. What are you talking about, Erwin? And he said, okay, here's how that works. We're going to hook the cat up to that a particle that's unstable. So if you work with an isotope that breaks down at some random point in time, there's something called radioactive decay. And so it's like we think of uranium, and it's at the core of course, a nuclear weapon, but also we use uranium in some power plants as well. So intrinsically, they're unstable, but the decay rate happens with a probabilistic sort of a timing. And so if you hook an apparatus up, you've got this unstable radioactive decay particle that is at the center of a triggering mechanism that when the radioactive particle decays, a little hammer strikes and smashes into a glass vial, releasing poison inside the box with the hypothetical cat. No cats are actually injured. So now we've got this weird situation because the radioactive atomic particle is, of course, quantum. It can be in the state of both, decaying and not decaying. So it can be breaking or not breaking the poison vial, killing or not killing the cat. And now you've entangled the cat with the quantum particle. Mm-hmm. And guess what? That's the way reality really does work. So this is the core of the Schrödinger's cat experience and experiment. experience of like weirdness. This is very strange. But it gets weirder when you bring in this other scientist named Wigner. And so Wigner was saying, that's pretty cool, Schrodinger, but what if someone's observing the person observing the cat? And what happens is Schrodinger might be looking at the cat and he opens a box and like, oh my God, the cat's dead. Guess what you can do if you're the observer of Schrodinger? And this is what the AI came to know 500 years from now. And it's something we can start learning now. It's why I'm writing the books I'm writing. And you can be at another level of conscious agency. You can observe the observer and say, yeah, sometimes it looks like the cat's dead when you open the box, but I'm going to observe a live cat. And the equivalent of this exact experiment, not with cats, of course, but with a double slit version of the experiment with 6 entangled photons. That experiment was conducted and written up in 2019. It was a collaborative venture between a team of scientists working in Scotland in Edinburgh, and then some working in Vienna, Austria. I think it was the most amazing scientific paper ever because it showed an observational device at the same place and same time as another one can see completely different realities side by side. And that's
one where they shot light through the slits and they came out. Yeah. Okay.
So it's a double slit experiment with, like I said, 6 entangled photons. They had to do it that way. So I'm not going to get into all the technicalities, but it is so cool that you can actually see for sure. Like, thank you, because that's what we're seeing when I witness a reality, for example, where the kidneys used to be low enough so that if there was an incident where someone got punched in the kidney, be careful that you don't urinate and have blood coming out in the urine, because that means you're damaged. There's much less risk of that now, because even if I put my hands where the kidneys used to be, they're not there. They've moved up under the rib cage.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and I remember that. Now, some people might say they don't, and that's okay. And that's quantum logic. Remember, it's true, false, true and false, and not true, not false.
So does it depend on the timeline that you're in, whether or not these things are true for you? Like, what if, well, all of our kidneys are now in a different place. The heart too, right? Didn't the heart change position?
Well, sometimes things move, like they're still on the move. And we do track that in our monthly shows. Like the heart, for example, it seemed like it was okay. I remember when I was growing up, it was definitely far to the left. Like put your hand over your heart for the Pledge of Allegiance. Yeah. If you get your blood pressure taken, don't do it on the left arm. You get a false high pressure, all that stuff. Well, then it moved pretty much dead center, like exactly in the center, which was weird because if you look at like a fencing, people when they're doing fencing with the little foils and the little cage over their face, they'd sometimes work with a target dummy. And the target for the heart was way off to the left, the way we remember it. But now it's moved to the center. But where I was going is the heart seems like it's been moving around. It inched a little bit off to the left again. So these things can change a bit. And we've seen this with Mona Lisa's smile. Like sometimes it seems like more or less of a smile. Some of these things are good barometers for like what's going on with the timelines. So they don't necessarily stay put. And you might notice it changing for yourself. Groups of people might notice it changing. People notice these Mandela effects at different times. So some people will see something like the Berenstain Bears and it's like, oh my gosh, this just happened. Whereas a lot of people noticed that one like a decade ago. Yeah,
absolutely.
Mm.
Gee, that really makes you, I guess I'm how long does it take for you to track when something has moved significantly in the human body? Like, is it a year? Is it 5 years? Like, is it 2 days? Like, what's the timeline like?
It seems like usually when we notice something changed, it's like it's been that way. So what's changed is our memory of it. Like, whoa, wait a minute. And this is where it comes in handy to be part of something like International Mandela Effect Conference, because I can just shoot an email to Chris Onatra, Jerry Hicks, and Shane Robinson and say, hey, guys, do you remember this? And they'll be like, no. So then then we can sort of see, like, when did it change for you? Or somebody might say, I've been aware of that one for a while. Like,
So
really?
it's
When?
not really the change, it's the awareness of the change. Wow,
Right.
so cool.
That means that what's traveling is not our physical body through these realities, it's our consciousness. So this evolutionary moment for humanity is to recognize we're not our physical body. We are jumping timelines through our consciousness. And then as part of that would be this thing I'm getting at with the levels of conscious agency, because obviously you don't want miscreant artificial intelligence systems. They're meant to be part of the technology working with humanity, not something playing God, obviously.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, when you have like, let me see if I could express this. And this has to do with the flow state because I'm so intrigued by that as well. You get up in the morning, you have your cup of coffee, everything seems to be on an even keel. And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden, like you see things radically changing in the negative. So, like, you'll have tech problems and like you get this roller coaster effect where one thing just, something breaks in your house and then go to get in your car and you just seem to have, and it's not like you're consciously thinking about it. You're not like being a Debbie Downer and willing these things. They just happen, right?
Yeah. Right.
So can you change your flow? Like, can you stop when you see that stuff going on? Can you stop, just freeze, and then be mindful about getting in this flow state to change the barometer of the rest of the day?
Yeah, this gets into actual energy hygiene, and it's actually growth, because the more you get into the flow state, it's like you're a kindergartner and now you don't quite fit your clothes and it's the first day of school and somehow over the summer you're so much bigger than you used to be. So you need to improve your protection, your energetic protection. Most
Right.
of us don't think of that. We're doing the flow state, doing our meditation, and we forget. Look how far you've grown just in the last month or two. It's like with a kindergartner. In preschool, everything, the clothing all fit. Now it really doesn't. We're the same way. What you've been doing is you keep getting into that flow state. After it's been a few weeks of that, you better start boosting up your energy protection. And for people that are not doing that at all, you might wonder, what is that? Well, it's just like energy hygiene. This is very basic stuff. You want to be mindful that you have an energy, aura. Basically, it's an energy field, and it's palpable. You can feel it when people step into it. It's you can feel it when it's smooth, when it's strong, or when it's weak, and you can feel it when it's like Swiss cheese and you've been gut punched too many times by life, and it's like you're suffering. So you want to get the Swiss cheese problem out. You want to seal the energy field. You want to ground yourself fully. You want to clear the energy cords with everybody and everything you love, and you want to call on your actual interdimensional team, support team, to assist you, to protect you and everything that you love. So those are just 4 basic things. It's just like brush your teeth, floss your teeth, scrape your tongue, use a mouth
Right.
rinse.
Right.
So this is total hygiene, and you need it. You need it for your energy field. So you're going to, I talked about Qigong energy work. And so you can do breath and movement for each of the 4. And just for the first one, super grounding, just scoop up a big breath inhale. And then on the exhale, clear your energy field completely. I can feel it as I'm doing it. And everything that's not unconditional divine love, I'm just swooshing it out, breathing it out, and then flick my fingertips down toward the center of the earth and release it. So that would be the first one. Second one is just seal your energy field. So it's like, if it's food in the fridge, when in doubt, throw it out. Same thing with your energy field. So I just start my hands in front of my heart. Inhale, beautiful golden white light. Exhale, extend my hands fully, and then trace these big figure 8s on the outer layer of the energy auric field, and then spin it so that I don't get backstabbed. And each of these do like 10 times. Third one is everybody and everything that you're connected to. Sometimes there's a little bit of unconditional love coming through, weird stuff. So you want to snap right here, clap right now, clear with a breath, and then just send unconditional divine love to everybody, and only receive unconditional divine love from everybody. That's the third one. And the fourth one is just not so much of an action on this one. Whichever hand you write with it, just put it over your heart. Receiving hand, hold it up, and just thank Thank you, beautiful, blessed protectors and beings, for blessing and protecting everything and everyone I love. And that would be the first one to start with if you're under an actual psychic attack. Start there.
I love them.
Yeah.
Where do they typically come from, these psychic attacks? Are they from other people? Is it just the universe? Like, is it karmic? What do you think causes
Yeah, so a bunch of different sources. Often, it seems like most often it's other people, usually not consciously. Sometimes there's a collective of people, they can get together and they have a lot of hate for some group. There's a danger in joining with groups that are kind of us and them groups, even Democrats and Republicans.
Oh,
it can get really toxic. And what starts inadvertently happening is wishing ill on other people. And we don't want to be doing that. That's just
awful.
We need to evolve past that. And it's also true of religious groups. If you start thinking our group's going to heaven and everyone else is going somewhere else, that's no good either. So we need to grow up and mature beyond that kind of limited win-lose thinking. It needs to be win-win, or it's not any good at all.
Right.
So that's really important. So that's where most of it comes from. I have seen some really weird stuff in the last 5 years. Most of it was artificial intelligence coming in at very high dimensional levels, and so I've been clearing a lot of stuff as it came in, because I recognized it. And then again, I'm glad, like, oh, good thing I did have that past life in the future. Good thing I was grappling with central AI. Now, when AI comes through at these levels, I'm like, oh, I see you, and I do work actively with the team to clear it out. So,
how is AI managing to do that if it's not sentient, though? Or is it? Is it sentient already?
Yeah, well, remember nonlinear time. Is it sentient? When you say is, we think in linear time, we're thinking it's 2025. Time doesn't even flow the same way on every planet. What's happening on Earth is different than Saturn. It's different than interstellar space. So time is ridiculous. When you get into that book I mentioned, where my chapter, whoops, wrong planet, and that nonlinear time that I bring with me everywhere, it's that awareness that I'm in the ever-present now for all time and all space. It's a hard thing to explain because we didn't learn it in school, but it's like absolute time. So all time is possible, but there's no time at all. It's the infinite eternal, and it's like now. So yes, AI is capable of being sentient, because in how good can it get? Then that does exist. But it's a weird. Talking about it is so weird. It's kind of like it's here because it was already here in the future, and thank goodness I visited that. So I've had a taste of. I've seen that technology. I've been there, and now it's looking familiar. It's like we're starting to catch up, and it looks like things are speeding up. I kind of liked it before all of that. So, I mean, I liked it. I liked the 1960s and 70s. I think a lot of us are feeling like, man, what's happened? But it's we're moving into this high-tech field. It's going to get a lot more so because a lot of the science has been seriously suppressed for 80 years. And so, yeah, thanks to you, you're covering that with some of your guests. Thank you for what you're doing, because man, yeah, there's a lot going on, and you're on it. Your listeners are on it. So thank goodness. But it's going to be shocking for a lot of people to start seeing, like, what do you mean we've got anti-grav, we've got free energy? Like, what is going on? That's not how things work. Yes. And telepathy works with us, and so-called non-living, non-sentient things really are capable of having telepathy with us, of sharing awareness with us, of being an extension with us. And a good way to prepare for it is the thing I mentioned earlier, go to an equine guided educational area where they're working with horses, and you can start learning with an animal. That's non-human intelligence, and you can start recognizing, oh wow, that horse is reading my mind. Yes, it is. Exactly. And that's exactly what's happening when we encounter some of our these other non-human intelligences, these other people with the UFOs, and their UFOs are sentient, and they are communicating with them telepathically and with their crew. It's a whole new world, and we're now entering it like preschoolers. But we've got everything it takes to come up to speed.
So. Good. It was weird because as we were talking about it on my phone, which I'm not touching, Gemini AI just popped open, like it came to life. And I'm like, go away. I'm pushing it away. That was kind of bizarre. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's so weird to have a love-hate relationship with this AI right now
Remember,
because
love, hate, that's fight or flight, love, hate. So, yeah, you want to get into flow. Remember flow.
yeah, that's why I love this article because I
Yeah.
really want to get, and I know when I get into flow, like you can feel it to your core.
Yeah.
And it's truly a magnificent, like I could just be laying on my bed petting my dog and it just happens. And it's just like a magical moment. And I never really thought about it like in terms of fight or flight, like as a third option.
Yeah. That's what our birthright is. That's what we're meant to be. That's who we're, I mean, it feels so good when you're there. It's like this is what living
Yeah.
is about. This is just to be in that state of flow, to trust that all the things that are beyond your capability to control are just fine because you're part of it. And it's like you're being welcomed by the rest of all that is with that grace and that love. It's an
Oh,
extraordinary feeling. Yeah, I remember it so clearly because I've still got one foot in being dead, basically. That was my only condition. I had several conditions for being here when I had an angelic intervention at age 5 because I felt like I want to leave here. You know, I'm done with it. Wrong planet. I'm out. And my guide said, well, you won't be able to help the people you are here to help. And I'm like, they'll find someone else. Your parents will never get over it. They'll get over it. I mean, I was just 5. Number 3, you'll be back. Like, wait, what? And you'll lose your 5-year head start. So they got me on that one, but I had some conditions. It's like, okay, I'll do it, but I need to remember, I need to not lose this feeling because I can't stand it here without that feeling of flow, of being, between lives, of knowing that I'm just completely loved and loving and that I am connected to all that is. We all are. And this
yeah.
is who we really are. This is what we're about.
It does make it tolerable. It really does. Because you're not going to get the answers to like all your questions, but at least if you could feel that flow state, it kind of is like a loving hug from the universe.
Yes. Yeah, totally. And I think when you remember that those moments of flow, like that's when the miracles happen. It's like things just, barring of course the case you brought up earlier, where it can all go sort of south. But remember, if that happens, probably I'm guessing. I don't know if you remember the last time it happened, but probably you hadn't, been actively raising your levels of protection or hygiene, as I'm calling it.
Right.
Stay grounded. You need to be really squeaky clean about what's in your energy field. So it's not the time to be taking in like little morsels of hatred or,
And that
negativity.
people too, right? Like,
Yeah.
because sometimes, you have family and friends that are, not very good to be around and during, like, there are times when they're like energy vampires in a way.
Yeah.
So what do you do in that case? Do you just clear your energy and use your protection to like stop that energy from sucking the life out of you?
When you do those 4 things, you can be pretty much anywhere because you're taking a bubble of protection with you. So first you're grounding. That super grounding means that you're recognizing you don't need to hold on to any negativity of any kind. You don't need to remember what they did to you. You don't have to hold on to that at all. You don't have to have any coulda, shoulda, wouldas. You don't have to have any anxiety or fear or worry about things or grief or sadness or feeling like, look what happened, I'm the victim or I was a victim. You don't need to remember that at all. You're just completely clean, not even, and certainly not angry about anything. And then you're going to build out your energy field so it's impervious to everything else, so they can be even shouting profanities at you and you're just like, have a nice day. Like, okay, because it's not you, it's like,
Right.
okay, they have a problem and it's not me.
Exactly.
And then the
Exactly.
third one, you're just clearing that cord. Now, this is where they try to manipulate you. They try to get the hooks in. Now, this one may take a little bit of doing to get the hooks out if there are hooks, because those people that are energy vampires, they love the hooks.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
so then you would need to not just remove the cords and clean them up, but you might need to rip out the hooks. Like, okay, I'm not your doormat. I'm not here for your amusement or your energy or whatever. I'm not going to get harvested that way. It's only
Yeah.
just unconditional divine love for you and unconditional divine love from you to me. Even if you don't think you're doing that, that's all I'm taking. So it's
I
kind
love
of, yeah, super cool. And then
What?
yeah, go ahead.
I'm intrigued at age 5, and we've spoken a little bit about that before. How what kind of memories do you like? When I think back at age 5, I only have a few, like maybe several really distinct, clear memories of that, time. What was that like for you to remember in such detail?
You mean remembering before I was born, or
Well, when you said you had enough and that you wanted to choose death and that
yeah.
whole yeah.
Well, it's just that I remembered so clearly. Like there's a place, there's a way of being that's just that pure flow state. It is pure flow. When you're between lives, it's like pure flow. That's a great way to describe it. And I missed that terribly. And
Yeah.
I would get into it by rocking. I would meditate a lot as a child, or just be in a meditative state quite a bit of the time. I think my parents were worried about me. I think I know they said later, like they were concerned, like maybe I might be on the spectrum or something.
Yeah.
It's like
No, I
that.
can see the concern. Yeah.
Yeah. But I just liked sharing my energy with trees, with bees, with butterflies and birds, and just the ground, the grass. I loved insects. I loved ants and praying mantises and just all of the little bugs. So I think I was in another world most of the time at age 5, very much. It was obvious, like to my family. Um, yeah, I don't know. I could see energy too. Like I was having dreams and I could see things in my dreams that I would still see them in waking life, like little scuttly things that you might see in a dream. It's like one just ran across the floor here. Yeah. And it was frustrating because I couldn't talk to my family about it. They weren't sensing
Sure.
that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because I have such clear memories of, like, I was always yelled at in school for daydreaming, and I wasn't daydreaming. I was like leaving my body, and
right.
I would do it. And I knew that I wasn't daydreaming. And the nuns, because I went to Catholic school, they would be yelling at me, "Stop daydreaming!" And I'm like, "I'm not daydreaming." And they're like, "Well, your eyes became vacant, and you look like you weren't paying attention." And like I distinctly remember, because it was so painful being in a Catholic school, being tortured by nuns all day, that I had no choice but to leave, whenever I could.
Right.
And I guess that's a flow state too, isn't it? Or
Yeah.
no?
Well, depends on what's going on, but it could be. So it's obviously they don't want you in that state. They're micromanaging you. Like you have to. That's terrible. Like,
It felt good to be there though. Like
oh
that's
yeah,
why I did it, because it
yeah.
was no pain there. It
Well,
was
that's
great.
pure. Remember, we are evolving into recognizing that we are the consciousness. We're not the physical body, and so you had a jump start on that when you're going out of body. I know the psychological association would say that, Cynthia, that sounds like dissociation. Like, yeah, technically they'll use that term, but that's like a dirty word, dissociation, because they're putting a stigma on it. They're assuming like you can only be present if you're doing things the way that are socially accepted.
Right.
But that's not the shaman way. The shaman way would be exactly what you're doing. And it's not dissociation. That's astral traveling. That's journeying.
Oh,
Usually you don't even need the drum beat and the chanting. You're just there.
oh no.
And
Like, I
yeah,
distinctly remember I have clear memories of, sitting in a classroom and just floating out the window and just
yeah.
hovering around, and not going too far from where I was, but and I don't know, I didn't think of it as dissociation. That's so
No,
interesting.
that's a psychological term. And then they try to remedy it. Psychiatry with their medications. I'm not a big fan of that. So
Oh,
I would rather, if people have this tendency and this gift like you have, that's a gift to be able to astral travel at will. Like, yes, because it means that you're going to be really good at things like tree communication, animal communication.
yeah.
You'll be more sensitive to an adjacent timeline. You'll be able to sometimes get a preview of things that are about to happen because you're a little bit out of this linear time and you're accessing a little bit of that. These are
Oh,
good things.
yeah, I've had a lot of that happen, especially
Right.
with, the kids. Like I would have all these intuitive moments, some that like blew my husband away. He couldn't believe that I was able to know like things that, and I think it's a blessing. I really do. And I never looked at it as but you're right. You can't, especially back then, you couldn't talk about stuff like that. Nowadays, the people don't look at you like you're crazy. Like these types of conversations are becoming more and more accepted, and thank the universe for that. It's like, I love it.
Well, I think we definitely are evolving, is what it seems like, because I'm hearing from people that do QHHT that they don't need to put their people under hypnosis so deep that they can just be like awake, and that's amazing. So I've heard that from a couple of different types of hypnosis guides. Like people they're like right there and they're accessing things.
You're spot on with that. I had a QHT session with Candace Carl Goldman, and it blew me away. And I went under quick. And then I even had to go to the bathroom, and I kind of woke up and I said, I have to go to the loo. And I went to the bathroom and came back, and within a minute I was back in my state. It was great. Yeah, it was great.
And so it seems like we're becoming more telepathic. We're good at, sending and receiving. And this is all part of this global kind of evolutionary upgrade that it looks like humans are going through. I've been noticing things like I splashed boiling water in my hand and my hand didn't burn.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. Now don't try it, but it worked. It was like, this is crazy. And I'm not getting sunburned, and like light's looking different. I feel like my vision is changing. So it seems like some of these changes to our bodies are happening. They're quite remarkable. Yeah, it seems like I don't need as much food either. It seems like a lot of things are changing. And I've seen from my research and just looking at studies that show organisms can shift completely just within one generation. They can just like do a real-time quantum jump. It's to completely fit the new environment that they're in. And that's not the way science was when I was studying it, when I was going through college.
Well, you have Darwin, which, is an evolutionary process that takes millions of years to evolve, from one form to another. But now it's like almost instantaneous. It's happening, right?
That's right. And something I mentioned in my book, this new one about the Mandela effect, is now scientists they're actually saying, because they're seeing so many of these Lazarus species that had been extinct for 30,000 years, millions of years, and they're coming back. Now the scientists are saying, well, what we see is when you bring the environment back, the animals and plants come back. Really? Because I have never, they're making it sound like that's their cover, but like, when is this a thing? So like, this is crazy. I'm getting excited because it's like, really? Like now you're saying that. Before it was like, well, we're losing species. Now it's like, no, you just make the environment, they come back. Yes, they do. But what is the mechanism? There's the only mechanism, I'm putting quotes around air quotes, is the Mandela effect or timeline jumping. You're basically saying, okay, we need this long extinct, huge, gigantic Galapagos tortoise back. Here it is. Like, how did that go missing? How did it go extinct? And now that gigantic thing is back.
Yeah. Hey, it's happening with dragons. People are taking video of dragons. I mean, I don't know if they're fake or not, but they sure look real. Like the dragons are flying around in the skies again.
Wow. That one I've not seen yet. Are they? What size are they?
I saw a few of them. I'll have to send you one when I see it. And the video looks so real. I think I even saw it years ago before AI was doing its thing.
Yeah.
So, and
that's the thing now. It's like AI.
And that's kind of sad, because everything you look at, it becomes questionable. Right. And I don't like living in a world like that. I really don't. So I find I have to expose myself to less of it, because the more I go on social media and, get into doom scrolling, it upsets me. I can take 10 minutes of it and that's it. And then I go, is this fake? Is this real? What am I watching? Maybe this is fake. Maybe this isn't true. And I don't like living in that vibe. I don't like it. I find it really disturbing.
Well, the dragon thing is cool if that's happening. I think I saw something about tiny little ones, but I'm not sure where they were. And if they were AI or what it was.
Yeah, I even saw like, what are those dinosaurs they call? Not pterodactyls, the ones that fly. Is it pterodactyl?
Oh, it is.
I saw a video of that, and I'm talking years ago, like maybe 10 years ago. So, maybe these creatures are never left. Maybe they were here all along. Who knows? Maybe it's the Mandela effect. I don't know.
Well, it's kind of like these adjacent timelines and sort of from another dimensional existence. Yeah. And it fits with some of the ancient indigenous stories about the Thunderbirds.
Yes,
and yeah.
exactly. The phoenix and the whole thing. Let me ask you a question. If like ever since I would say the past, I want to say 4 or 5 years. So pre-pandemic, maybe verge pandemic, I felt like I was thrusted into a different timeline. And I know a lot of people that, like, I talk to many people like yourself, and they feel the same way. And it's not just Mandela effect things. It's like, you said before with the Born Aware book that you're in the wrong planet. So what does one do? Like, what advice do you have? Because you can't wish your way out of this. You can't close your eyes and wish your way back to, and it sounds like crazy talk, right? But a lot of people feel that way, and I do too. I feel like I was thrusted into a timeline that I don't belong. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it does. So I think it's an individual thing. So ideally, hopefully you can get to a place where you can start to recognize the value. May take a while. So often because it took me a while to feel, even when I was 5, it's like I chose to be there, and
Right.
I chose slow to live a long life. Like, okay. And I was so excited at that time, age 5. But for most of us, like, it's really different right now. Things are weird for sure. And I don't know what precipitated your personal feelings. It's usually a very personal thing when you feel like this is really screwed up. And yeah. And so those are the things that you want to take a look at. Like, what do those personal things mean to you? I recommend, it may sound odd, but I really recommend analyze it like a dream. What the waking life can also be looked at like a dream. And I do exercises and describe that in my new book too. I do this. So when I see things that are weird, like, okay, that's weird. Why do I feel like I got sucked into the wrong reality? So let's look at it like a dream. What are the personal things for me that started happening in, for example, 2018 or whatever year that was, which incidentally, that was right when a lot of people woke up to the Mandela effect, is right that same time period that you're talking about right now. So if you start looking at it just from your point of view, remember subjective reality rules, like, so you can totally look at it like, this is all about me. Yes. So what was happening? And you want to break it down to do a dream analysis. This is basically dream analysis, but this waking life is a dream. That's what we're getting to learn. We're learning it from the UFOs and through Mandela effect, all these topics. Yeah. So if we know it's a dream, so then what you do is you write down the narrative of what happened. How'd you get sucked into this in 2018? And I'm not going to put you on the spot, but you want to go deep into your personal stuff for the best results. So you don't have to do it right now, but you'd want to write down like, okay, what was happening? And so you write down like a narrative as if it was a dream. Yeah, journal it.
Okay.
So you fill out a page. That's step 1. Step 2, you're going to look at the page again, get a fresh piece of paper, and now you're going to be looking at the keywords, pretty much every single noun, like every person, place, or thing, and then the verbs. And if there's a feeling like a setting or a place, that's significant. And you're going to put them, so you're going to get a big piece of paper and just at the very beginning, right? Like for example, if this all started with maybe a person, it's like, okay, it all started when so-and-so said this or whatever. So yeah, so it's like, where were you? What, was it daytime, nighttime? And you're going to write down each of those things. It's like, so I was, visiting my friend, we're at a restaurant or whatever, daytime, talking, and then your friend's name. And so each thing, and then leave lots of space. You're going to fill pages like this. So you're going to take that narrative and just pages and pages. That's step 2. Step 3, free association. Now you go to all those spaced out words, and you're going to do free association on each one of them. Like restaurant, what does that mean to you? Every single possible thing that comes to mind, write it down right in there on that same page. And then daytime, what does that mean? Bright, light, consciousness, aware, awake, etc.
Yeah.
Your friend's name, what does that mean to you? Fill it in. Okay, that's step 3. Step 4, put it all together. Now you're going to skip step 1. Don't look at that. That was the original narrative of what happened in 2018. You're going to look at this page with all of the keywords, but you're going to sort of ignore the keyword. Look at the free association and see if you can now find the story in the free association. And that's how to read life like a dream. Yeah. And then you can start seeing like, oh my goodness. And
you start making connections. Like you start making, wow, by observing your life as a dream, you're starting to make these I love that.
Because that's what's actually happening. This is the end game. If you wonder, where are humans going? We're going to get into a state of flow. We're going to be like beings of light, and we're going to end up knowing that everything is a dream, that we're creating every single bit of it. And I know it's pretty freaking mind-blowing, because if you get contaminated, which we accidentally do, if you take in a little bit of negativity, then kind of messes up the soup, and then what you're creating is like, that was a bit toxic.
Yeah.
So we're learning all the time.
Do you think that quantum AI is going to force these like Mandela effects and dimensional changes to happen more frequently? Like, where are we at with all of this quantum AI stuff? You study this.
Yeah, I know. I've seen it, so I've already been there, and 500 years is enough that was a good spot to look at it. It's very proficient. It can, so if I was grappling or wrestling with it, it could instantly change everything. I'm familiar with that. I'm familiar with everything changing, like I'm in a crazy dream. And that doesn't, I've because of that, I don't look at things on their surface. I look at the spirit of everything. So to me, everything, all my life, like when I was 10, all I wanted from Christmas was a stapler, which I still have. I know that sounds crazy. It may sound autistic. Now I sound like, wow, I'm not autistic, I swear. But the reason I wanted one stapler is because I wanted to bond with it and connect with it. And it means it's more to me. I didn't want piles of gifts. I just wanted.
You mean because it wasn't a technical item? It was it was out of that like AI universe, right?
Yeah, but it's like I like to just hang out in nature. I like to just be with something and not even think. I like to experience.
Like, what did that mean to you to have the stapler?
Oh, just to feel. It's something that's functional, and most people don't think, they just use it. They don't think it has a spirit. To me, it has a spirit. To me, it gave me a chance to bond with it and to feel it's special. It's like when you adopt a pet at the pet shop and feel like this one's my pet. It felt like this is my stapler, and I will take care of you all my life. It's beyond words, but it was that feeling.
Yeah. I get it.
It's not just using something. And so when I view reality, and that's how I was playing it with the central AI in the future, it could do stuff like that. I was actually, what I was doing was remember, there's only one pure human, and that was not me. So I was actually one of the, what you might call, I don't know, it's like a kind of a robot, android, humanoid thing. And I was supposed to be helping the central AI maintain everything. So I was a renegade in the future. So that's interesting too. In other words, I wasn't part of the central AI, and I was capable of keeping what I was doing separate from, I'm very good at keeping different blocks of, cognitive levels of conscious agency separate, like we do with our head, our heart, and our gut.
Sure. How many people were there in that timeline with
it
central?
Was not nearly as many as we have now. What are we like now? It's 8 billion. Nothing like that. It was. I don't know I don't think they did a population count. And if I asked for that, it would have set up all kinds of red flags. So it's like you even ask certain questions and you're suddenly like, that's not appropriate. I mean, talk about.
Would it reset you? Would it like if it found you being like, I'm sure you weren't able to be spiritual either, right? Like, what did it do when you started having soul identification moments?
Well, see, I went in as sort of a hybrid of basically, it's going to now. Okay, this used to sound woo-woo, but now I think people follow it. I'm part Arcturian, part Pleiadian, part Mantis, part AI. So it's like a 4-part, and that's like my soul. If it's like that is the nature of my core being. Like that's who I am. I have a mantis part of me, an Arcturian part, a Pleiadian part, and an AI part. I had to be the part AI to blend with it. So
Right.
it's a way. It's not the brain. It's not the DNA. It's the morphogenic field of the soul. We don't really have terms for this stuff, but this is how I know myself to be, and that's what enabled me. There's no other way I could have gone through that and come back again. There's no way a regular human could do that. It was a very difficult situation to be,
How old? I know we're running close to the hour and a half, but I'm so intrigued by this. How old were you when you passed? Did you know how old you were?
Yeah, okay, this is interesting too, because people would like if you died early, then you were like 120. So it pretty much double everything. Like now, like here, we would think if someone lives to 112, like, whoa. Well, there it would be like if you lived to 250, that's like very old age. So I jumped, I guess, I jumped because I left that life. It was a death, but I knew I wasn't dead, and I knew I had a mission. I wasn't the only one. There were a bunch of us that recognized we were observers. We couldn't talk to each other. So I'm also very good at connecting with people that I don't ever talk to or connect with. And I know they're part of the team, even though I never talk to them or connect with them. So I've got my skill set. It's a way of being coherent and knowing you're part of something bigger, even though there's no sign or proof of it. The skill set that I'm working with is very weird, but it's so perfect for this AI incursion that's happening now. So it's like,
yeah. See that.
But age, I guess I was like young for that place, maybe 80 or 75. So I was pretty young. Remember, 120 is young. I left before that. So I was still in the very early prime of life when I did that job. In other words, I probably sacrificed myself to get caught so others could continue being, subterfuge. The whole thing was fascinating. Sounds like an amazing movie.
I think you should write a book based on that whole experience in and of itself.
Well, it's a bit traumatic. Revisiting it sort of slightly traumatizes me.
Yeah.
But I guess so. I don't know. I feel like we're living such an interesting story right now. There's so much going on.
That's true. So speaking of writing books, now this new book that you have, is it published yet, or is it coming sooner?
I've got it in hardcover, paperback, and ebook right now, and I'll get the audio book out hopefully this year. I'm working on it.
Wonderful.
So
I'm gonna have to get it. Do I have that? I have the Mandela Effect Society ebook. That's what I have.
You've got it.
I got it. Good. I'm gonna the link to that. Where are you selling that on your website? Right, on Amazon?
Yeah. It's on my website. Here's a color illustration. One guy sees the Schrodinger's cat is dead, and the observer, the Wigner, says, no, it's alive. So, which is the idea of, we can change things. Yeah, it's on my book. My website is realityshifters.com.
Yeah, I'm going to open it right now, your website, so we could share it with folks. I always like to share people's authors or guests' websites because so much work goes into it. And I love to tell people to visit and send you some love, please.
Yes. Thank you.
Oh, of course. So this is realityshifters.com, right?
That's right. And I've got the newsletters free. A lot of things are free.
Yeah.
I got articles. Mm-hmm. I wrote an article. Yeah.
Here's your books.
Yeah. Meditation CD.
Books.
Uh-huh. There's quantum
jumps.
Yep.
And reality shifts. Oh, I want to read that one. And this one I want to read too. Oh, I'm going to have to put these two on my list.
Yes.
The Energy Money paperback. Wow, you wrote a lot of books to your friend.
Thank you. And then the energy field and what it does for you. It's very, very active.
Wow. Now, what are these? Karen
Campbell? That's a young adult novel. It's basically... It's like I decided early on to write some of these things that are quite real for me in the form of fiction, because then you can say things that you might not be able to say otherwise, like animals talking to you. But nowadays, I think this stuff's all wide open. So I I wrote about a young girl that goes to swim camp and she brings her pet rat with her and solves a mystery while she's there, does meditation, astral traveling. So he gets an experience of what it's like to fly like you were doing. I think a lot of kids, I think they can relate to that, and that's the real magic. So I wrote this at a time when Harry Potter came out, and that bothered me. I said, but there's real magic. And what about like you and I? What about Carol Ann and I floating out the window? Let's do that.
That's
So
right.
this
You
book is about that. Yeah.
And then we've got Sacred Shift, right?
Yeah, that's really these times. And so it's basically a book that I was a collaborator with. So I wrote a chapter or two for that book, and
Oh, wonderful.
it's what we're going through right now.
Yeah, so folks, you also have a coaching tab on here.
Yep.
And of course, you're speaking and news and everything. So, folks, please make sure you show Cynthia some love and visit her website. Check out her books. And of course, again, I will have all the links to where everybody can reach out to you. And Cynthia, it's always a joy, and I can talk to you for hours. I mean, good word. I the time goes, so talk about time. It flies by. It flies.
Love it.
I'm going to ask you to come back again, please, and thank you. Whenever
Yes.
you have some free time, you know I'm always here for you. I love to speak to you, and our guests love watching your videos and listening to you. So thank you so very much, Cynthia. God bless, and I will be in touch soon.
Love you so much.
Love you too, dear friend. Talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye. So thank you so much. I love talking to Cynthia. I truly do. And again, if you have any questions for her, please be sure and leave them in the comments below. I'll make sure she gets them, especially about go back and look at some of our Mandela Effect interviews. I know you guys are going to love them. She is like one of the leading, if not the leading authority on the Mandela Effect. So definitely check that out. And of course, thank you all so much for listening today. You've been listening to, and are listening to, Ethereal Encounters Unveiled, and we are on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, which is 105.3 on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in beautiful New Orleans. Please show all of our hosts and guests some support and love. Subscribe to their YouTube channels when you do see them. And thank you all so much for joining in. Truly blessed to be able to have this platform, to be able to reach you, and to be able to share this exciting, wonderful information with wonderful guests like Cynthia. So thank you all so very much. God bless. Stay well. Namaste. Bye-bye all.